A lot of Amazon sellers think that listing optimization is mostly about keywords. And yeah, keywords matter, obviously, but if you're a seller already operating at a revenue of more than $50,000 to $100,000 a month, you'll realize that most listings don't underperform because they're missing keywords. Usually at that scale, it's because the listing just doesn't communicate the value very well. Either the positioning is unclear, or the images don't really sell the product, or the copy sounds generic, or the whole page feels like it was just built for an algorithm instead of an actual customer. So in this video, I want to walk through how I personally think about listing optimizations for more mature brands after they've crossed that $50,000 to $100,000 a month revenue. And it's been the same principles that have applied for my own brand as I scaled it up to $6 million annually, and working with over 65 brands as a part of my agency, Keystone Growth Partners, where we've audited thousands of listings for our clients over the years. And we're just seeing patterns over and over again across multiple categories that we work with. So back in the day, you could honestly throw a decent listing in there, run some PPC, get a few reviews, and do pretty well. That is a lot harder now. Amazon has gotten way more competitive over the last few years because categories are more crowded. Customers are comparing 5 to 6 products minimum, and Amazon itself has gotten much better at figuring out which listings shoppers actually respond to. So once you understand what Amazon is actually rewarding, the listing optimization process becomes a lot less confusing. So the first thing I'd say is this, that keywords do matter. I'm not saying that they do not. If you're a new seller launching a completely new product on Amazon, there is a step-by-step process that I've created a separate video for, in which I walk through the exact process of identifying keywords, and so that you're able to set up your first listing in a more scientific manner rather than just doing it based on your knowledge. But if you're a more mature seller, I feel that most sellers focus too much on ranking and not enough on conversion. So Amazon really cares about both. I think the important part for you to understand is that your overall ranking on Amazon is really a function of 2 parts, click-through and conversion rate. It's that simple. Now, both of these parameters essentially function very differently. And the reason for that is the environment in which they operate. So let me explain that a little bit more detail. So when we're talking about click-through rate, you have to understand that the click-through rate is essentially at the search results page level. Now, at that page level, customers do not have the time to actually go into each and every listing. So you're actually competing with multiple other listings while they're scrolling through the search results page. So the levers that really matter at that stage is fundamentally the main image. Number 2 are the first 70 to 80 characters, particularly on mobile, because although Amazon allows a total listing character length of 200 characters, while scrolling through mobile search results page, the only part that's actually visible is the first 70 to 80 characters. And that effectively means the first 5 to 6 words is all the customer can actually see on mobile. On desktop, depending on the width and the dimensions of that particular desktop, it varies between 115 to 120 characters. And then after customer actually clicks on any listing and lands inside of the listing, then they can see the entire 200 character listing. So that's the first important part for you to realize, is that on mobile, which today contributes to about 70% of Amazon revenue, people can't even see beyond the first 6 words of your title. So the parts that customers actually see, and you can think about yourself as an Amazon consumer as well, when you're scrolling through your search results page on Amazon, the parts that actually grab your attention for any listing is number 1, the main image, because it occupies a maximum real estate on your mobile phone. Number 2 is the title, and number 3 would be the ratings, reviews, and possibly the pricing. So this is the environment, or this is the level at which a customer really needs to make a decision whether to click on your product or just scroll right past you onto competitor products. So that's the first part, which is click-through rate. Now, assuming that you have done your job and a customer is able to click on your product and get inside of your listing, at that stage, you want to make sure that your overall title does not really look like it was created for indexing, because at that stage, it's about conversions. Now, people really love obsessing over indexing and search volume and ranking tools, but Amazon ultimately wants products that make them money, which means it has to convert, it has to sell, which means that if shoppers click on your listing and buy consistently, Amazon gets a strong signal. If your shoppers click and do not buy, your ranking usually gets weaker over time, no matter how well optimized the listing technically is from a keyword perspective. So when we work on listings, we're not usually thinking about how do we just stuff more keywords in there. We're actually thinking more about how can we make this page feel like the obvious choice, which actually impacts sales. That's fundamentally a different way to think about optimization. I think one of the biggest mistakes I still see constantly is keyword stuffing. So you'll see titles that are basically unreadable. It's like the seller tried to shove every keyword from Helium-10 into one sentence. And that used to work okay about 5 to 6 years ago. But today it just hurts conversion because customers now can tell immediately when a listing feels spammy. They're extremely sensitive to trust signals now. So if the listing feels cheap or confusing or just overtly SEO written, that's when conversions drop fast. So the way we approach titles now is a lot simpler. What we want is a combination of clarity, readability, and of course SEO optimization. Because if the customer doesn't click or convert, the SEO eventually doesn't matter anyway. It does not matter which keywords you stuffed in there if the customer just doesn't end up buying. And in addition to this, of course, images are where most listings win or lose today. And I made a separate video on the best practices to follow for gallery images, main images, A+ content. But in this video, I'm just going to give you a quick snapshot of what the job of images is and how it feeds back into listing optimization. Now, why images matter more than ever today is just because our attention span has reduced drastically over the last 5 to 10 years. Shoppers are moving a lot faster now, especially on mobile. Most people really are not sitting there carefully reading your bullet points. They're essentially just scanning, scrolling, swiping, they're comparing, and most of that is done through images because that's the most easily digestible form of content today. And they're subconsciously deciding, does this product feel trustworthy? Does it feel premium? Does it solve my problem? Is this brand legit? And all of that is happening within seconds. And that's why random product photos on a white background just do not work anymore. Each and every image has a purpose and they actually need to communicate something. The only one job of the main image is to get the click and get people inside of your listing. Once they're in there, then it's going to be the job of your image number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and beyond to actually induce the conversion. And that's the part that a lot of brands miss, is that they do focus on the images looking pretty and the main image looking as legit as possible in terms of cleanliness. But at the end of the day, if your main image cannot get people into your listing, your images 2 to 7 don't even matter. So that's basically a quick breakdown of how we look at listing optimization today at a very high level. Hopefully this gave you a better sense of what to do and what not to do. Of course, there's a lot more depth we could go into each section, but I wanted this video to be more practical and less YouTube guru tactics led. And if you want us to take a look at your listing, conversion issues, or just overall Amazon account strategy, there is a link below where you can book a strategy call with our team. Happy to point you in the right direction. And I'll keep putting more videos out like this going forward, and I'll see you again on the next one.